everyone. Welcome back to my show, Engelic Show. I am your host, Engelic Van Tandila Everett. And I'm doing a little something different because now I got a co-host now, y'all, on my show. This is my wonderful and lovely co-host, Miss Noel Schmitt.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, oh. This is my women empowerment episode of my YouTube channel and my show. We are drilled and got the opportunity to sit and chat with our amazing special guest and new friend, Dr. Katrina. And I do not know how to say your last name. So can you say your last name for me, please?
Sure. It's Fulcher-Rood. So I'm Katrina
Oh,
Fulcher-Rood or Kat. That's what I usually go by.
well, I love saying Kat, so thank you, Kat.
Of course.
She is a speech pathologist, which I did not know, scientist, and educator.
Yes.
Hello, Kat. Nice to have you on my show and YouTube channel.
I know. Thank you so much for having me, Angelique. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited you just wanted to talk to me. This is my very first YouTube channel interview since starting my new gig. So I am so excited it's with you.
Well, I had to have you when I saw you, which I will be talking about in my question. When I saw you at the rally, I'm like, oh, this is a new. And then when Beth introduced me to you, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely got to have her on my show.
Yay. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
That's why I had to pitch. I had to not just try right over. I had to pitch my idea to you about would you be interested. So.
I love the topic, women empowerment. And so I had to be here for that. It's such an important topic.
Yeah, I was really hoping to have you on in March because March is Women's Month, but I guess every month can be Women's Month.
Every month should be and
So,
will be Women's Month, starting here with Angelique's show. So I like that.
which I will be talking about, but I'll just let you know right now. I am actually, as Noel had said, I will actually be getting interviewed this afternoon on the 25th anniversary of women, because me and my book got highlighted in Women's Month. I'm
Yay!
going to be in the
Yes.
interview now.
That's right. Oh my gosh, congratulations. I love the book. I can't wait for the second book. So you definitely should be highlighted for Women's
Well,
Month
I
for
will.
women
I won't. I'm
empowerment.
not going to put that out there right now because I got a shout out, and I will be talking about it in my shout out now.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, no spoilers for me.
I'm just gonna have to apologize to my co-host because I always say stuff before I ask questions. So, tell me about Kat.
Oh, tell you about Kat. That's I
Yeah.
guess, a big question. Um, I was raised and born right outside of Buffalo, New York, in a small little town called Lockport. So I'm a Buffalo native. Buffalo's been very important to me. I love to do acting and theater and Broadway, which was my first love. And I do improv comedy in the area with Buffalo Comedy Sports. I'm a huge reader. I'm a big video game nerd. But also, I run two companies under the name The Big Picture SLP. So right now, my newest project is learning how to be a business owner and run two
Well, that's a
companies.
good.
So
That's a
Kat
good.
is always busy, and I'm
Yeah.
always doing too much, and I'm always overwhelmed, but I'm having a good time.
Well, that's good. 'Cause that's actually a question I was going to ask you anyway. So it's a good thing that you kind of put that out there. So. Because since you're saying that, I don't have to ask you after. I can ask you now about that. So
Sure.
I kind of like the alternate questions, but since you put that out there already, I might as well just ask you. So Since you mentioned about the theater, well, I'll just
Theater.
ask you about the business first, because I do have this right here. How do you like the change of career transition as a business owner?
Yeah, so about for almost 11 years, I taught at the college and university level. So I was first at SUNY Fredonia, which is about an hour south of us in Buffalo. And I was an assistant professor in their communication disorders and sciences department. So I was training undergrad students and graduate students on how to be speech pathologists. So I was at SUNY Fredonia for about 5 years. And then a position opened up at Buffalo State, which was way closer to where I lived, where my family was. And so I was lucky I got offered the position at Buffalo State. I was there for 7 years in their speech pathology department, again, working with undergrad and graduate students. I was promoted and tenured there to associate professor. And then starting in about 2020, as the whole world shifted, because who can say the year 2020 without knowing what was going on? The
Yeah,
pandemic hits. We're
yeah,
all
go
working from
man.
home. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I start online teaching and I also I ended up herniating two discs in my back.
Oh,
So I lost the ability to walk for a couple of years. And so my life's changed a lot in 2020. And I started thinking, I'm really not happy anymore as a college professor or academic. And there's so many other things I've wanted to do. And so in October of 2022, I woke up and I said to my husband, I'm going to leave my job. And he goes, okay, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I just can't do this anymore. And about a month later, I woke up again. And in the middle of the night, I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up two businesses. And he goes, okay. I'm going to leave academia, which some people usually don't do. Once you start in academia, like you are an academic, that is your thing. But I decided to leave and I run two companies now. One is the Big Picture SLP, Continuing Education and Consulting. In that role, I work a lot with speech pathologists, teaching them how to read research and how do you actually take the research and use it in your practice when the research was conducted in a laboratory that looks like nothing you do in your real world. So I work directly with SLPs or special education teachers or school psychologists and teach them how to make science work in the real world. But now I also have a private practice, the Big Picture SLP, Speech Language Services, and that's where I get to directly work with clients and their families in delivering treatment and assessment services. So getting to work directly with anybody that has any communication problems or disorders. So my new life is running these two businesses, and I've been doing it for about 9-ish months now.
that's interesting. Okay. Now, you already told me exactly what you do, so I can't really ask that question again about what do you do.
I mean, it really depends. I mean, it depends on the day what I do. It's right now, I start my day off with answering a lot of emails, returning a lot of phone calls. I run two social media channels, one for each company. So every graphic you see on our social media channels, anything that's written, I created all of that. I write for both blogs for the website to do a lot of education. So I'm running blogs now. I design online courses and post them online. I'll travel to clients to see them. And then I work with clients and families that may have difficulty either speaking or communicating or have difficulty understanding language. And I assess and treat communication disorders too. So what it looks like for the day really depends. I do a lot of different things. So yeah, I'm here in my own little office. So
Okay. And it's a good thing you mentioned about social media, but I'm not gonna
yeah.
ask that question right now. I'm not gonna ask that question right now though. But I will ask you this question. What's I? Well, hold up, because I'm getting off kilter now. Oh,
we've skipped, we're being loose. We're not following the direct questioning,
Well, I'm just gonna ask this question because there's a couple of questions I got my co-host asking you.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask this one question. I know you told me in your notes that you were a professor at university. What university were you a professor of?
So yeah, I got my PhD at University of Buffalo in 2014. In 2013, I started teaching at the college level. I was at SUNY Fredonia for about 5 or 6 years. And then before I transitioned to this, I was at SUNY Buffalo. Oh, I just turned off my camera. Hold on, I'm coming back. There we go. Oh, here I am. Hit my space bar because I always have to talk with my hands and I accidentally hit it. But
it's a good thing you mentioned Buffalo State because
yeah, and
I
then I
am
was at
an
Buffalo State.
alumni of Buffalo State. It's my old stomping ground.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time at Buffalo State. I was there for about 7 years.
What?
Yeah.
That's a good college. That's how I met my lovely co-host.
Oh, yay. Oh, lovely. The Buff State connections.
I know how many years I met her.
Were you guys doing, how did you guys meet at Buff State?
I do not know.
Through the Yelp program. Yeah, through the Yelp
She's
program.
saying through the Yelp program.
Okay, nice. Great. Buffalo State still bringing people together then.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing you mentioned about Fredonia. I actually have an FI that actually lives in Fredonia. So shout out to Mr. Patrick.
Hello, Mr. Patrick.
Out there, so. Now, what does SLP stand for?
Oh, that's a good question. I get that a lot. So SLP stands for speech language pathologist. And so you might have heard somebody refer to somebody as a speech therapist. I've heard speech teacher. The official name is SLP, again, speech language pathologist. And these are the primary professionals that are trained in conversation and language and speech. And we can work with anybody, birth all the way through, birth to 99 plus. And we work with anybody that may have difficulties maybe physically producing speech sounds. So being able to physically move their mouth or put their tongue or teeth where they need to go to make certain speech sounds. We also work with people that might have difficulty understanding or like breaking down language as somebody speaking to them. And I also may work with somebody who has difficulty speaking themselves, actually formulating complete sentences or using language to express themselves. So if any of those kinds of issues or anything happens, you may come see an SLP, a speech language pathologist. And that's what I was originally trained in and went to school for, was to be an SLP.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I had to ask that question.
And have you ever seen an SLP or have you worked with an SLP before, Engelic?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't remember?
I know a long time ago.
Well, we're not going to tell anybody how long ago because you're so young and fresh.
I don't think it was speech pathologist stuff. It was I forgot what I was doing. But
at least it wasn't a negative experience.
They had me on video though when I was a little girl. At Buffalo State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So maybe, but at least it wasn't a negative experience. Sometimes I ask that and then I get nervous when it's negative. I hate that.
I don't know if it was a speech pathologist though. It probably was. I do not know. All right. Meanwhile, why a business owner?
So why did I decide to do this and become a business owner?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I had a lot of things happen to me between 2020 and 2022 that really changed my life, specifically getting diagnosed with degenerative disc disorder. And then I herniated 2 discs in my lower back. And I also found out I have ADHD, which I know we're going to talk about in a little bit. And
I
so when I kind of had both of those things, those two things were happening while our whole world was changing with the pandemic. And I was having this like existential midlife crisis of like, should I still be a college professor? I don't know if this is really fitting me. I don't know if this is where I should stay. Am I happy here? And I decided that I know really why to be a business owner because I didn't want to listen to anybody else's rules anymore. I was sick of being told what to do and when to do it and how to do it after going to school for 11 years, getting the PhD, doing these things, and then still to have my expertise questioned or who I was questioned or somebody dictating what I did no longer sat well with me. So I decided to open up my own businesses because I could be in control. I could make the decisions. I could decide how my life looked. I could decide what my working hours were. If I was sick, okay, I could take time off. I don't have to justify that to anybody or feel bad that I'm taking off a sick day because somebody else is going to be disappointed. So for me, it was really about regaining control over who I was and what made me happy and like being able to create my own life and do that on my own terms. And for me, going into business for myself and being the boss and making all of the decisions was one of the only ways I could see doing that to like just fully reclaim who I was and have another chapter.
I definitely agree about that. I can actually relate to that because I'm my own boss.
Yes, you
So,
are.
as my co-host and my life, and I'm gonna say my life coach. I'm gonna put that in hey Jim, how to put you out there now. But they always tell me you're the boss, so you gotta tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And this one can tell you.
And you
But
like being the boss, right? Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
we're talking about empowerment. It's empowering being the boss.
And you also got to empower women. You can't tear
That's
them
true.
down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And we're empowering ourselves by being bosses and I love what you're doing. You're showing that like we can empower other women through being the people we are. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's the reason why I wanted to do my show because I wanted to empower women. But then I thought about the men. I'm like, well, women are the only one I should be empowering, though. So, because men can relate to it too. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. What are your duties and responsibilities?
My duties and response in terms of like what I'm doing every day for work or in just my everyday other life
And
outside of
well,
work.
I'm guessing in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends. I mean, I said it depends on the day. So I do a lot of like, you got to do, and these are the tasks I hate. The administrative stuff, the email, the phone call, the responding to the social media comments, that stuff. It takes a lot of time. So there's that administrative end. There's the end where I'm doing the social media and marketing end. Because since I find all of my own contracts, I'm the one that has to market myself to find my business, to find, the people that are going to pay me. So I may have to market myself to a continuing education company, or I'm putting out, campaigns and flyers to pediatricians and neurologists, because those are common professionals that see patients that may want to work with me. So I'm letting them know, hey, I'm Kat, I'm in the area, this is what I do. So there's a whole marketing angle of what I do. Then there's the whole actually, once somebody pays you and contracts with you, doing that work. So I might be putting together trainings for a school district or for a company. I work right now with a couple of universities. University at Buffalo is one of them.
Oh,
Boston
I love
University is
them.
another one. And I work with researchers there and I help them figure out some research problems. But I also work with clients too. So I might be making a lesson plan for that day, what we're going to do in therapy, what's the goal, should we do, should we get there. I may be evaluating somebody someday. So I'm getting my different materials together, or I'm looking at data that I collected and making diagnoses and plans. So it really depends on my day. My day changes every day. So I try to schedule myself out. So like Monday is marketing and social media day. Tuesday, I do a lot of things for my private practice. Wednesday and Thursday is all about continuing education and consulting, my other business. So I'm working with all of my contracts there. And then Friday is administration. I'm paying the bills. I'm doing whatever paperwork I need to do. And then in the afternoon on Fridays, I do future planning. Pick a project that I want to do in the future and start planning it out. So every day is different for me, depending on the day and the week, which I love. I like that variety.
Now, I definitely agree about that because I can relate because I'm the one that actually do my own marketing. So a long time ago when I was doing my first business, I wasn't doing the marketing because I had a partner. This time I don't have a partner, so I got to kind of do everything. So
Yeah, I understand that when it's
yeah,
all on you. So yeah, and you gotta, what am I gonna write about today? What is this going to look like? What message do I want to put out? Like all of these decisions you have to make.
yeah,
We make
I got
decisions,
I got
Angelique, every day.
horns by the bull, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that is like today. Yesterday, I stayed up until like 12 o'clock re-listening to my podcast episode that I did on Saturday because I
Yep.
added music. I added some music in the background, and then I'm like, well, let me re-listen to it. So I didn't get to listening to it till almost 12 o'clock this morning.
No, I mean, people, I think, what you do, I mean, it's one thing to kind of set up the interview, right? You have to set up the interview. You got to research your
Yeah.
person. You got to get your questions together. And this happens too when we're doing social media campaigns or other things at the Big Picture SLP. Like, you have to plan everything that you want to do. Okay. Then you got to video it. And then people just think it's done. But that editing process afterwards, where you're cutting the video, you're uploading it to YouTube, you're putting all of your branding elements on. Now you want to add audio. The amount of times you have to go back and look at something to get it completely packaged is so much work. And I think until you're somebody who starts doing those things, you really don't realize what these small business owners are really doing on a daily basis just to get that one sale, just to get that new client going, to keep their dream going. It's a lot.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
can imagine you were up till midnight doing editing. It's hard to do audio and video editing.
Yeah, I was just listening to it. I music to it, and then after I had scheduled it for today around 1:15. So now it'll be going out today at 1:15.
There
So
you go.
yes, but I got an editing team for the show.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about doing no editing for my podcast though, because you can just call that your bloopers or outtakes.
I know, right? We could have fun. If I had to do some of my former students have found me now online and things, which is great. I love reconnecting with my students. And they always say, they're like, do you have bloopers? We want to see the bloopers of what happened before you recorded this, right? Like the 15 times I said, hi, Big Picture SLPs, and then I forgot what I was going to say. And then I forget to say speech pathologist. There's so many things you forget to do when you're recording.
Yeah, that is like oh yeah, me and my friend Ann was doing the podcast, and we were eating and drinking as we were doing it, and I accidentally belched on air. I'm like, oh my god!
You're like, oops, can somebody edit that out? Was that directly into the mic? Sorry, let me get closer.
No, it wasn't directly in the mic. So, but I hope you don't hear that because I did add music to it, so it might be a part of the music. So.
Everybody can listen closely for that Easter egg. Post the time where you hear Angelique.
Yeah. All right. Well, meanwhile, now my lovely co-host.
Yes.
Yeah, my lovely co-host will ask you about ADHD.
Oh, sure.
Go
Lovely.
ahead, take it away, Miss Noel.
All right. So you mentioned that you have ADHD, and I was wondering if you could talk about what that is, if somebody doesn't know.
Sure. So ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactive or hyperactivity disorder.
Ooh,
Um, and yeah, we got to give long names to everything. And it
yeah.
definitely falls into the category. I know a lot of people now are talking about being neurodivergence or being neurodivergent, excuse me, or having neurodivergence. And ADHD is one of those that falls in that category. And what's interesting about me is that I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD when I was a kid or when I was in high school or even when I was in college, or even when I got my master's, my PhD. I got diagnosed with ADHD 2 years ago when I was 36. And it was, wow, a really shifting moment. If you can think about it as like, it was like, okay, the Polaroid was foggy, and now all of a sudden I got the diagnosis, and it was like we shook them, and all of my memories like came back in focus, and like I reorganized them. I was like, oh, that's why I had such a hard time as a kid with math. That's why I had to learn math and music together, because music helped me actually be able to count and learn and do things. Math was always so hard for me. Oh, that's why I have this running monologue in my head constantly of like 3 or 4 different train tracks that's processing different information or is telling me to do something different. Like there's a train in my head right now that's saying, you're doing this, you're having a really great time. But what else could you been doing? What else are you missing out on? What's happening here? Or there's another conductor in there that's like, we should start thinking about what you're going to do after this meeting. And so you're always trying to bring yourself back to the moment. So for me, because ADHD, and I think this is really important, I think people just think you're bouncing off of the walls all of the time and that you can't focus on anything and you're just a ping pong. I can focus. That's not the issue. I can hyper focus. You need me to focus on something. And especially if I'm getting some good dopamine and some good rewards, I will focus for hours at the neglect of the other things that need to be focused on. So, really, what I find, and this is how I finally explained it to people, is that say you get 100 puzzle pieces. I think every single puzzle piece is important, and I need to pay attention to every single puzzle piece exactly right now. And I can't filter out any noise about which of these 100 puzzle pieces will be good, but I'm going to look at each single one of them and get all the details before I figure it out. Versus somebody else who may not have ADHD, you can give them 100 choices, and then they can, what to me seems like almost instantly, they can filter in and be like, oh, I just need the edges. That's how you start a puzzle. Nothing looks like an edge. I don't need to pay attention to it. My brain doesn't do that filtering. But once it picks a detail, it is going to stay on that detail for forever until I do something to actively get it off. I also have a lot of hard times with time, what they call time blindness. So I have a hard time figuring out how long a task will take me. Okay, I'll write out my to-do list and I will think I can get 23 items done in 2 hours. When really you're probably getting 23 items for your work day done in a week. Like who's doing 23 to-do list items? Like I would tell my client, oh my gosh, you're not setting yourself up for success. I'm doing the same thing. And I also have a hard time starting tasks and figuring out how to break them down. So that's another area called executive functioning. So for me, I can focus. I just don't know what to focus on all the time. And when I do focus, I usually focus for too long. I have hard time figuring out a timeline, and planning and organizing and starting those tasks are really hard for me. And those are sometimes common problems for people with ADHD. But it impacts everybody really differently, especially girls. And I know we're talking about women's empowerment. Girls don't usually get, especially young girls, don't get diagnosed with ADHD very frequently. So, that's why I'm so happy you're asking me the question.
Yeah. Thank you for being so honest and upfront about that,
Yeah,
because then more people can learn about it.
you're very welcome. We're all unique in
Yes.
our own way.
That's right. And I think, so many, and I think one of the reasons why, because I had a lot of people, when you start opening up, when you say you're going to open up a business, I don't know if you've had this, Angelique, too. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion on what you should do, what your business should look like, what do you put out there about your business. And so, I'm building the websites, or I'm building your brand, whatever they like to say. And when I built the private practice website, I said there are a few things I need on here no matter what. I need to tell people that I'm a neurodivergent affirming provider, that I believe in neurodiversity, and that I'm not, that's my model. I also wanted to tell people that I was an LGBTQ IA plus affirming provider. And I wanted to be very upfront with the fact that they were seeing a provider who was also neurodivergent. And a lot of people told me not to put any of that information out there, that wouldn't be good. People, some people might not like you or might not want to hire you. And I very quite frankly said, then I'm not the therapist for them and I wouldn't want to work with them, because these are things that are so important to me that we're going to have a fundamental difference trying to work together. And I might not be your therapist, but it was important because I had so many students that kept coming to me and said, I have ADHD. Can I be a speech pathologist? I have ADHD. Can I go and get my PhD? I have autism. Can I be an SLP? I have this. Can I be a college professor? And I was like, of course, I'm here. I'm here with ADHD and this and issues. And I did it. And I didn't want to be ashamed anymore just because my brain works differently. I didn't want to feel like I beat myself up for years. People say, why did you go and get a PhD? One of the number one reasons was because I still felt like I wasn't smart. I felt really stupid. I felt dumb. And I thought, oh, you just keep getting degrees and then you'll finally prove to yourself that you're smart enough. And that never happened. Everybody said, you must be so smart. No, I'm not. I'm just a hard worker. I wanted to turn that narrative around. I am smart. But I also struggle with things sometimes because my brain's set up differently. Okay, let's deal with that. So it was so important that I've started talking about it, especially because so many people said, you can't talk about that. People are going to start questioning who you are and are you a professional and should they go to you? And I was like, no, we got to stop these stigmas of that you have to look a certain way or be a certain way or have something to be able to do these jobs. No.
I definitely agree about that, because I remember when I was hiring a staff, and they basically told me, oh yeah, because I was emailing instead of calling on the phone, and one basically had said that you're unprofessional. Call me unprofessional just because I was having a conversation with her by email instead of calling her on the phone. And I'm like, unprofessional. I told my life coach about it, and he was like, he was not too,
Right, because maybe communicating for email, especially first, maybe the first few times you're meeting somebody, maybe email is easier for you, Angelique, because you can review things, you can re-edit it, you can read it, you can take time, and then you're really taking time to formulate your response so you can be professional. So you think in your mind, which I totally get, this is how I can be professional and I want to present myself this way. And then just have somebody say that you're being unprofessional. People have told me I'm unprofessional for lots of different reasons. I once gave 3 months notice at a job and was told that was unprofessional.
Oh, geez.
What?
That I should have given a full year is what I was told.
Goodness.
And that I would never be hired again and blah, 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 because right. So people say these things. I think sometimes it's about, and we take it so personally when I really think it's about them and how they like to work and what their mental model is. And if it's not fitting in their box, oh, you're unprofessional. No, you got to reflect on yourself maybe first. Like,
Yeah, look in the mirror before
yeah, look in the mirror before you
somebody
keep looking outward. That's right. Tidy up your own house first.
I love it.
As my famous quote, don't judge a book by its cover.
That's right.
Now, meanwhile, back at the range, because we got some more questions for you.
That's right.
Okay. Put that down. Go ahead, Noel.
You have mentioned some of your interests were doing improv comedy. And how did you start on that?
Oh, my improv comedy journey. Improv is one of the things that saved me during my PhD program. I was a PhD student and I was, newly dating my husband, now husband. And, so he's like, oh, I want to introduce you to my friends. My friends really like this improv comedy group called Comedy Sports Buffalo. Why don't we go out? Okay, fine. I'm going to meet his friends. So I'm worried that I got to impress the friends, so because I was really into this man. I got married to him. It must be. So I was like, his friends need to like me, blah, blah, blah. So we go to Buffalo Comedy Sports, and it's an improv group. They're making all short scenes. They make everything up on the spot. I'm loving it. We're having a great time. And all of a sudden they ask for audience volunteers. And for whatever reason, because I'm like, I want everyone to like me, I put myself in anxious situations, even though I'm anxious. So I decide to volunteer. Pick me. I'll do your comedy game. And the comedy game was where, you would do a scene and then the audience member would vote like survivor of who could no longer be in that scene. And then the rest of the actors would do it again, but you still had to figure out that part. So by the end, there's one person and they're doing 4 different parts on stage. And I ended up as the audience volunteer making it to the end. I didn't get voted off and I had to run around stage playing all 4 parts. And it was so much fun. I had been a theater person when I was a young kid. I was definitely a high school theater nerd. Loved it, had so much fun. I impressed the friends. That was the most important. So my boyfriend's friends were like, she's so great. She's so funny. So we're walking out, and one of the people that was the improvisers on stage pulled me aside and goes, have you done improv before? And I said, no, I didn't even really know what improv was until I walked in here. And he gave me a card and he said, you're really good. If you're ever interested in auditioning for us, let me know. And I was in the middle of my PhD program. I had just started maybe 18 months before. And I was so tired and I was so stressed out. And I didn't have, like, when you're in a PhD program, like there was only 2 other people that worked in my research lab. So you're very lonely. You're very isolated. You're at these labs for like hours on end. So it's like, oh, I could like get out and meet people. That would be good. So I emailed the guy the next day and he said, we practice on Monday. Come on in. And that was history. I started Buffalo Comedy Sports and I was with them for about 4 years throughout my whole PhD program. And then when I got my PhD, I thought that I needed to grow up and finally be an adult, which means you didn't get to do any of your hobbies. You had to do your work thing. So I left Comedy Sports, missed it terribly. And then a decade later, I auditioned again because I missed them so much. One of the reasons why I left academia was to go back and do theater and be back on stage. And so I still had some friends that were in the group. I'm like, is there going to be an audition? Can I please try to come back? And I auditioned and I've been with them now, back with them for 2 years with Buffalo Comedy Sports. And I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. So. And for those people that don't know, what does improv stand for?
So improv stands for improvisational comedy, which means it's all made up on the spot. So all we get is a suggestion and then they say go and they blow the whistle and you are acting and coming up with a sketch, a short, think about the length of an SNL kind of skit.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that you see on like Saturday Night Live, or you go to see at Second City, they're improviser. They're doing sketch comedy, but they came from an improvisational background. So yeah, improv comedy means funny stuff that's made up right then and there, right in front of you.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I just heard about that because I did that a couple of years ago at a conference.
Yeah.
And I forgot the man's name, but he do improv stuff, and he had everybody come up, and we were pretend like we were drawing like dodgeballs of people and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Angelique, you gotta come to a show when I'm performing. I'll get you a ticket. You're my guest. You're gonna come
Okay.
next
Awesome.
time as my
That'd
guest.
be
You both
fun.
of you guys.
That,
You
that will
come.
be fun.
That would be
You and
great.
Noel gotta come. Yeah, I'll let you know
Awesome.
when I'm playing next.
Awesome.
Okay.
We'll be there. And then my
Yay!
last question is, what drove you to be interested in speech therapy? Was there anything that made you walk that path?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I was in middle school and high school, younger, the dream was always to be in theater. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to do vocal performance and sing and act. And where I grew up in Lockport, New York, with a like middle class family, my parents were like adamant that I was going to go to college and that I had to have a degree that would make money. And to them, when you said you were going to go to school for vocal performance, my parents were like, "Show me in the newspaper what job you applied for."
Right.
They were like, "Show me. I want to know where it says you need a vocal performance degree."
Right.
And I couldn't show them that in the newspaper. And they were like, "You need to pick a different, no, you got to make money. That's how this goes." And so my high school had a program where you could go and shadow and observe people in their profession and their day to day. And I observed a lot of people, journalists, radio hosts, writers. I thought about being a stockbroker at one point, even though I was so bad at math. I thought maybe a lawyer. I kept looking, and then I went and observed somebody who was an SLP, a speech pathologist. And we were going around that day, and she did home-based therapy, where she actually goes and drives around the county and works in people's homes, which is what I do. And I was enjoying it. I wasn't sure. And then we got to her last session of the day. I was about 16 years old at this point. We get to her last session of the day, and it's this young girl. She's maybe 3.5, almost 4. And to me, it just looks like this person is playing on the floor with a kid. Like, they're playing, they're going back and forth. And all of a sudden, this little girl picks up a ball, looks at Shauna, who's the SLP, and goes, "Ah," like she makes a noise, and she gives her the ball. And all of a sudden, the entire house goes completely silent. And the parents who were like in the back doing something, you could hear a pin drop. They stopped washing their dishes. Everybody just stops and looks at this girl. And then it's like a moment, and it goes, and now Shauna goes back and nobody says anything, but I look and the parents are crying. And I'm like, I don't know why these parents are crying. So we get in the car, like they wrap up the session, blah, blah. We get in the car, and I said, "Shauna, what was that moment?" Like everything went stop and you started crying. And she goes, "Oh, she goes, I've been working with her for a year." So she was like 3.5. So she started at 2.5. And she goes, her parents have never heard her try to speak. They've never heard her voice. She never tried to say a word before. So you were actually there when she tried to say her first word. And that's why the parents stopped, and that's why they were crying. Like their child is 3.5 and hasn't spoken yet. And I thought, wow, well, if I can't sing, that's what I want to do. Like that is really powerful. Like that is a powerful moment to give somebody words, voice. Like that's how you get yourself. I always say, like, your communication is your currency. It is your power in this world. It is how you tell people yes. It's how you tell people no to very powerful statements. And I was like, this woman was involved in that. So I started looking for colleges that had SLP programs. And so at 16 years old, I decided I was going to be a speech therapist. And at 17, I went to college, and that was my college major. And I didn't look back for a while.
I love it. That's really inspiring.
You got that right.
Thank you.
And I got to with the first hand on my show too. Oh yeah. Okay.
Angelique's like, yes, this is great. Yes. I love good feedback, Angelique. Yes.
But I love feedback too, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now where are we? Oh yeah. First, I know you told me already that you're a big theater nerd,
Yes.
but how did you get into theater?
My very first show was in kindergarten. It was the Three Piggy Opera. I was the mom of the three pigs, and there's a video you can hear absolutely no other child speak except me. I'm like, this is the like screaming aloud. So I became obsessed with theater at a really young age. Um I saw Audrey Hepburn and Marilyn Monroe in these like classic musicals singing in the rain. And I was like, this is so cool. And in fifth grade, I was having a real hard time. I was struggling in school. I was getting bullied a little bit. I wasn't understanding math. I was just, it was the first time I was starting to struggle, and I had a teacher who decided that I could stay in his room during my lunch breaks or whatever, so I wouldn't get picked on anymore. And when I was in his room, he had a piano, and he taught me how to teach to sing gospel spiritual was the first song I learned.
Ooh.
Name was Mr. Doctor. Dan Doctor, I have to find you. I think you're one of the people that saved my life. And
Love
he
that.
taught me how to sing, and through singing, and then showed me how to read music, and then he took that and he showed me how to make that into math and fractions, which I was having the hardest time was with fractions. And I still remember the first time I got a fraction right, Dan Doctor jumped up and down and did cartwheels down the hallway because he was so excited for me. And so he decided that he would start doing shows at the school I was at. And he did Jesus Christ Superstar as his
Oh, I
first show.
love
I was
that.
one of the apostles in sixth grade, and I got the theater bug, and I did not stop ever since. So,
Love that plug.
um,
That's
but yeah,
wonderful.
Musical.
That's wonderful.
once I found music, I knew I had a place where I could feel safe, and I couldn't get enough of it. But yeah, Jesus Christ Superstar is still one of my favorite musicals. But
That's my favorite one. The first time I got to see that one was when I
yeah,
got first stage. And
okay,
I saw that with a really good friend of mine. And ooh,
awesome.
I love that musical.
Oh yeah, it's a great one.
Yeah.
Awesome music.
How did you get involved with Unique Theater Company?
Oh, so Unique Theater, that's one of the newer theater companies I'm working with. Unique Theater and Beth Geyer, they're wonderful.
Yeah,
Let's plug them right
I
now.
love them.
They put
Yeah.
on shows with people with all abilities. They're raising awareness and acceptance of so many things. So I found out about Unique Theater because when I quit Buff State, my very first goal was to get back on stage. And that's what I wanted to do. And I had one of my improviser friends, once you're in Buffalo, New York, and you join a hobby, everyone knows each other, right? It's like our circles in Buffalo get like very small. So one of my improviser friends worked with a company called Drunk Theater Buffalo, not Unique Theater, Drunk Theater. And I auditioned and I got into a show called Drunk Wizard of Oz. And when I was in that show, the wizard was a guy named Charlie McGregor who directs for and sometimes collaborates with Unique Theater.
Oh.
Now, I didn't tell anybody in Drunk Theater what my previous life was. I was having an identity crisis. I didn't want anybody to know I was an academic or anything, but my students found me, my former students, and they said, "Oh my God, Kat's going to be in a show. We have to go and find her." Now I go out of the show ends, whatever, we go in, we mingle with the audience, and I'm going and getting a drink with Charlie at the bar because it's Drunk Theater, everybody. So yes, I'm drinking. And so all of a sudden I hear, Dr. Fulcher. I freeze.
Uh-oh.
And I turn, and some of my students are there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, Charlie, he's had a few drinks. He's a little chatty. And he goes, why are those people calling you doctor? Why are they doing that? So then I have to explain to him, I'm a speech pathologist. I got my PhD. I used to teach at colleges. I don't do that anymore. And he goes, oh, I got a great gig for you. And I'm like, okay, sure. He goes, you gotta go to Unique Theater auditions. You have to meet Beth. You're gonna love it. So I looked up Unique Theater. I saw the mission, what they do, that they work with everybody. They put in these great shows. I auditioned. Charlie cast me. So I was in the Unique Theater show last year in 2023. And I said to Beth, can I go take you for a cup of coffee? I love what you're doing. Let's talk. And then Beth and I started collaborating together. And yeah, she's making my dreams come true with being able to put speech therapy and acting together. So yeah.
Vigorous jazz
Yes.
hands.
So yeah, I started with Unique Theater in October of 2023, did my first show with them. And now Beth and I are collaborating and offering a workshop through Unique Theater that's starting this month. And we're going to do it again at Gigi's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm so excited I get to bring them both together. And it's all because I decided to do a show called Drunk Wizard of Oz.
I love it.
Never think anything you do is just for fun and random. It could turn into your next big thing, you know?
It's synchronicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I had to bring that up because I love Beth. She actually did 2 plays for me. She produced 2 plays for me.
Yes, because you're an amazing writer, and so you and Beth have written together, which is lovely.
The first one was Respect.
Yes.
That was the name of it, Respect. With a really good friend of mine. She was actually the lead. And then the second one was What If? And that was actually based on just a fictional one. So
Nice. Okay, well, when's the next one that you're writing so I can be in it? I want to be in an Engelic original.
okay. Well,
I'm here. I'm auditioning. Angelique, break me apart.
well, okay, I'll do that, but I would have to talk to Beth about it because it was her idea about putting my book, Olivia the Bully, in life on theater. So it was her idea.
I got some ideas for this, Angelique. Yeah, we could do like kids theater too. Would be great. Teach the kids about everything they need to know. I love Olivia.
Yeah.
I love her.
Sounds like you.
I am writing another play, but it's not on that. It's actually on sexuality.
Nice. Oh, that's a needed topic to talk about too.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I had to get back into it because my first one was Respect. This one I want to do sexuality and show people do not judge the cover do not judge people by the cover now. So I have to do sexuality.
Yes, you do. I love that topic, and I love that you're going to tackle that. That's great.
Yes, I got 2 people that are going to be lesbians in my play. So 2.
She's already casting people. Send your casting tapes to Angelique.
So I would definitely make sure to put you in it. I was actually in the audition process. I was actually in the auditions when they were doing the casting and everything for my first play. So
nice. That must have been exciting.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Oh, love that.
And my friend was the main character. At first, we did not know because they wanted me to be the main character at first. Until my friend killed it. I'm like, she is my Sherry.
So do you like the acting part too, Angelique? Do you want to act too, or you just want to write?
I never really thought about acting. I really thought about writing, but I don't know, because I was actually in the play myself too, in my friend's play, Keller. You probably know Keller.
I do. I did the last show with Keller. She's great. Keller, if you're listening to us, hi.
Hey, Keller.
Hey, Keller.
Okay, now the last question is, what is a solopreneur?
A solopreneur. Yes, that's a lovely new I don't know if it's new. Don't quote me on that, but a little internet term. Like, it feels very weird to me to call myself a CEO. Right? Like I still have a really hard time with it. But then I saw the word solopreneur, which is basically a business owner who does it on their own. A person who owns a business and they're the only. So instead of entrepreneur, you're a solopreneur. And so that kind of felt, I don't know, for some reason, because I don't think I'm ready to say I'm a CEO yet, solopreneur feels a little better. And I think it starts encompassing and telling people everything I'm doing. Because like you said, Angelique, we do everything for our businesses. We are We are the face of the business. We are making the products for the business. And then we're promoting anything that we make. And I even tell people my office is in my home. I even have to clean the toilets here. Okay. So like I do everything from toilet management all the way up to the big stuff. Okay. So, so yeah,
I never really thought
solopreneur is a
about
nice
that
little
though.
thing that I found online that I think felt a little bit comfier than CEO at first. But now I'm just accepting also just the CEO. I feel like if a man doesn't have an issue with calling himself that, then I'm gonna call myself that too. CEO all day, but I sometimes
Oh,
say
oh
so.
yeah, oh yeah. Uh,
That's right.
I never really thought about solopreneur. That's a good idea.
You are.
That's
That's
a
what you
good
are
one.
too, Angelique. We're solopreneurs together. So we
Which
can
is
join
really,
us in the mission.
which is really funny because in my first business, I had two roles. I was CEO and the CFO.
Big
Yeah,
work
yeah.
there. Yep. Yep. That's okay. Just what I say to everybody is like, I'm so great. I could be the whole C-suite, baby. Okay. I'm the
Love
whole
it.
C-suite.
I love it.
Now it's like I'm my own CEO now.
That's right. You are. And Angelique, you're your own C-suite too. We can be CEOs, COOs, CFOs, CTOs. You let me know the things, I can do it. I'm just
Oh, oh,
once you figure out, like once you blow up your career, is what I told people I did. Once you blow up your career and you land on your feet, and you know this too, Anjali, because you do it all. Once you start figuring out that like you are capable of figuring out any problem and that you can solve it and that you bring something so different than anybody else does, once you believe that and you actually own it, you can do whatever you want to do. Like I don't like I thought I was gonna fail at this so much. I was in academia for 10 years. I've taught over 3,000 students, published in journals, published in book chapters. I never felt capable as an academic. I always felt like I was proving myself. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I've been doing this for 9 months and I feel now like I can do anything.
Yay, yay, yay,
So
yay.
be
I
the solopreneur. You could do it.
okay, I definitely agree about that.
And
I
you've
like
been doing it for years, Angelique.
yeah, even though I had a partner in my first business, but yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at The Big Picture SLP, or you can also find me on, again, those places at The Big Picture SLP Speech Language Services. Also, just Google The Big Picture SLP, Google Katrina Fulcher, you will find me. I got 2 websites and the 2 social media platforms. And yeah, come and check us out at Unique Theater or at Buffalo Comedy Sports. You'll also see me there too.
Okay, and I got another part to that question.
Yes,
And do you have a website?
I do. You can find me at bigpictureslp.com or BPSLP, speechlanguageservices.com. Or just
Okay.
Google it. Big Picture SLP, I come up.
All right. I always have an affirmation on my show.
Oh, I love an affirmation.
Yeah.
What is it today?
I got two of them. So
Yes.
read read an inspiring book.
Yes, read an inspiring book by Angelique Everett. That's what I'm going to add
Yes,
to the affirmation.
there you
Read
go.
Angelique Everett's
You were
inspiration.
gonna say that now.
That's my affirmation. Read Angelique.
Okay. I'm trying to read. I'm trying to getting back into reading my book
Yeah.
on forgiveness.
Ooh, nice. Okay, that's a great topic. Love that.
And the next one is drink more water, which I kind of been doing.
Cheers.
There we go. Cheers. Yes, thank you. Great advice and affirmations. I concur.
Let's toast to all the women out there. And
Toast all the women.
all
You
the
got this.
women.
Boom.
Oh,
Cheers.
all right. Now I got my social media. Well, you can find me. Do not forget to use Angelique Everett Show 2.0 to like me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram at Angelique EVE Show. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Angelique, Angelique Everett Show 2.0. Or go to my website, angeliqueshow.com.
Woo!
Now, this is my shout out. That's the reason why I didn't want to talk about the book right then, because I have that in my shout out. So, spoiler alert, my second book is almost done. It will be out sometime in May, but details to follow.
May, that's coming up.
Yes,
Let me know
yes.
so I can mark my calendar.
I would definitely let you know. I know the Charming Building is supposed to have a launch party for me for
Oh,
when
I'll be there.
my second book come out, which I'm happy about. Ooh. Oh, and also, I just wanted to let all of you know, I do have my very own podcast called Angelique Chat that you can now listen to on all platforms, which are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube Music, and now on YouTube in the podcast feature.
Woo!
How to make that happen. So I had some help to do that. So I had to make that happen. Now, before I do my closing part, I will just put it out there. I love having spotlights for the month. And I did a spotlight for my podcast monthly. So this time I'm thinking about doing a spotlight monthly for the show. So
Woo!
starting next month. So yes, I am your host, Angie Everett, and my co-host, Miss Noel Schmitt. This has been another episode of Angie Everett Show. Now I want to say thanks to our special guest. Thanks, Katrina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you.
I am Angelique. This is Noel, and we are rocking it.